Hello, and welcome to this episode of Mindset Mentoring for Athletes, Families, and Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Coach Chuck, and today's guest brings a story that is raw, honest, layered, and deeply human. A woman who battled a 16-year addiction beginning at age 12 and rebuilt her identity from the inside out. She now teaches the mind-body energy connection and uses her story to help others step into self-awareness, emotional regulation, compassion, and alignment. Stay tuned for that conversation.
It doesn't yell, it doesn't bleed, but it's killing us slowly, quietly. Stress, the invisible enemy behind sleepless nights, fractured relationships, fading focus, and dreams left in the dust. It's not just adults. It's our kids, our players, our students. We think it's the stress itself that's the enemy. But the real danger, how we've been conditioned to react to it. What if our normal reaction to stress doesn't have to be normal? What if the most powerful weapon against stress is already inside you?
Welcome back. Our guest today is Mandy Alexis, founder of Mandy Alexis Motivation, a transformational voice helping people understand how their thoughts, beliefs, nervous system, subconscious conditioning, energy, and emotional patterns shape the reality they are living. Her healing journey took her across 3 countries through addiction, nervous system breakdown, depression, and identity reconstruction. And she learned that freedom begins the moment you stop running from yourself. Today, she teaches people how to meet themselves with compassion, how to read their body, how to clear energy, and how to shift from survival to true alignment. Mandy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much.
It's an honor to have you, and I really love your story. I love these stories of resilience and overcoming and perseverance and all those things that your story exhibits. So, why don't you begin by just telling the audience, that some of that root background that kind of is essential for us getting to know you and the context of the story and all of that.
Yeah, okay. So my first experience with drugs was at 12. I started smoking weed, and then shortly after that, it like manifested into trying other things like acid, mushrooms, ecstasy. This was all mixed with like drinking. And then by the time I was 19, it was the first time I tried cocaine. And then I was hooked basically for like 16 years. And like this whole time, I always told myself, like, when I want to quit, I'll be able to stop. Of course, I'll be able to stop. And that like really wasn't the case. Like I had a lot of trouble. It took me a few years after I had already made the decision. I wanted a different life, a better life. Like I could feel like my brain not working like I wanted it to. And yeah, so that took me on this journey, trying to understand my mind, my addictions, like what I needed to do to like really step out of that life and into a brand new life that felt like more aligned with who I knew I could be.
So, talk to us for a moment, if you would, about the 12-year-old self, right? So when you're 12, and was the decision to start smoking, as you said, weed, and then start getting into the other stuff, was that a way of trying to escape things that were going around in your world? Was it trying to fit in with this group that, preteens and teenagers, right? That peer trying to fit into some group can be really important. Was it just a whole lot of curiosity and wanting to experiment and live life to, the fullest? Which of those, or was it a combination of all those? What led you down that road to begin with?
Yeah, so when I think back of like 12-year-old me, in those moments, I thought or told myself like it was just for experimenting, and I just wanted to try new things, how they'd make me feel, blah, 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 blah. And I do believe that had something to do with it. But then knowing what I know now about like how the subconscious mind works, I could see that it was probably a form of mistake of sorry escape. You know, there's a lot of like beautiful things about my father, but he was also an alcoholic, and he also had lots of rage, and he also could be very angry. He didn't abuse us physically, but you know, he would smash things and break things, and just from a young age, he would disappear for days, months without a trace. And so I could see how trying to escape those feelings of like disappointment and like heartache and even just the anger around what that would have done to my child self, you know?
Yeah, that story is not uncommon, right? It's quite common with people get into drugs. There's often alcoholism or drug use in their family. Sometimes it's not, the real addictive. Sometimes it's just the social alcoholic or it's there, it's around it. And yeah, it definitely impacts our mindset and our belief systems and all. So you started down that road. It sounded
Hmm.
like you didn't, though, really, until you said you were like late teens when you first tried cocaine, but it was cocaine that really caused the addiction problem, or
Yeah,
um,
like so I was a very high functioning cocaine addict. But I was doing once I started getting into it, I was doing it almost every night. Sometimes I'd be up for like a few days at a time, but I'm still was like going to work. I was taking some classes, you know, I'm volunteering. I would show up at family functions still like strung out. And so I was doing all these things still, so it didn't really hit me that I had a problem, because I'm like, well, I'm still functioning. I'm still, you know, progressing in life from an outside perspective. But but yeah, like I was doing it a lot. There was one point in my early 20s where I was offered an opportunity to sell a little, and then I would pay for my habit, and it just was like so easily accessible to me. And you know, I worked in the restaurant industry, so it was very like, you know, very common for everyone around me to be doing it too. And yeah, I fell into it really hard. And even as I progressed into a corporate setting, there was still a lot of opportunity to go out and you know, have drinks and get high. And you know, like I said, I was still going to work in the mornings and doing all of the adulting things. So it wasn't like I knew I had a problem, but I didn't think it was a problem, like I said, until I tried to quit. And then I realized like, holy, like I'm really deep into this, because like everything was a trigger, because my whole social life was surrounded by basically at some point we were going to get high, you know, like anything we did, bowling, work events, like trips to the cabin, whatever, like it was all surrounded by at one point we're going to get drunk and then we're going to get high, like my whole social life.
so you said it took you a while before you realized you had a problem. Did other people see a problem in you, or were you so involved in that lifestyle that everybody was doing it? So there wasn't really that outside people saying,
Yeah,
"Hey."
all of my whole social group, we were all functioning addicts basically, you know. And then nobody, I guess just with my family, because from the outside, like I said, I was still, you know, like I opened a business during this time. I was volunteering. I was taking classes. Like I was doing all of these things still. So it wasn't like my life was falling apart from the outside for anyone to see that there was something wrong. Right. Like, um, yeah. So nobody knew until like, and it was just based on me feeling like I could feel my brain deteriorating, and like I would start having like really really uncomfortable thoughts and emotions when I like was by myself and not partying and getting high. And I remember there was a point where I started to do it by myself, and then I was like, oh my god, like I got to get myself back to reality, basically. Like this is insane that this is actually my life, like in full. Like it was kind of scary for me at that one point. And that, things like that is what really like woke me up, that I needed to change everything. My friends, like where I was living, I had to move out of where I was living. And yeah, like I said, like really step back and figure out why I couldn't stop so easily and what I needed to do to free myself from this world that was destroying me.
I want to kind of delve into that a little bit because that's, you know, a lot of people in our fields of coaching and all that who talk about, and Tony Robbins, is one of these big advocates about how change begins really in a moment, and it's a decision. So something happened, and you said it was like you were by yourself and you kind of saw yourself. Like, was it kind of like an out of body kind of thing? Like you see yourself doing all this, and you just kind of go, "Oh my God, what am I doing?" kind of thing. What?
Yeah, like it was I honestly felt like I was going like a little bit crazy. Like I feel like I was like at the point where I like had really destroyed my mind. So that was my first like wake up call, where I was like, I was thinking really bad things. I was getting high by myself, and I felt very, very uncomfortable, like in my body, like when like being alone and not part, like if I, yeah. So that was my first big, big aha moment, where I was like, I need to change everything. And then I started on that path, and I was able to kind of stay sober for a bit, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I'm good now. I can go out, have a drink." And then right away, nope, that trigger hit me and I would fall back into it. And but then I actually started dating this man, and he had a child. He wasn't into partying and everything like that, but he had a child. And that was my next aha moment, where I'm like, well, if me and him are going to be serious and like try to create a future, like who do I want to be for this kid? Like I was like, there's no way this version is acceptable to be around a child and help potentially raise a kid. So that was what was my big push, was having that as a possibility of having to be a stepmom. So
That you just said there. I still remember hearing Robin Williams say in an interview that one of his very first aha moments was when he just become a new father and he was holding his child, and it was just like, oh my God, I cannot do what I've been doing with a child around. And that was his first kind of trigger to start getting, um, out of the whole drug scene. Um, Sounds like this was all beginning with your own self awareness, and that started you down a path of trying to figure it out, learning. Did you ever get into seeking professional help, or was this really self-driven mission? Like, I'm going to figure this out on my own.
yeah, I was very self-driven mission. My father had tried to go to like AA multiple times, and he like always like it all he always relapsed. And I guess I had just this painted picture where, oh, it doesn't work. So I just was very determined to do this on my own. And I was actually very blessed because right around this same time, like dating this man and realizing like I don't want to be this kind of woman for him or like his son, I had an opportunity to go to Costa Rica. I had a friend who lived there. So I ended up going there for 2 months. And that really helped skyrocket my journey into being like recovery and, getting out of, I got out of everything that was normal to me. So, like all new friends, a whole new environment, all new adventures, being outside all the time, right? On the beach, in the jungle. Um, so I was very, very lucky and grateful that I had that opportunity to just leave my toxic life and go and get myself clean.
That that can be very powerful on many levels. One, like talk about the mindset shifting, and you've got to make some real complete changes. Sometimes there's a whole lot of things in your mind, beliefs, the values you have, decisions that the whole lot of stuff you got to let go of. And in doing that, you really do begin to change yourself. And when you change, you don't fit in that old world as much. Sometimes breaking away from that old world can help you trigger those other things, right? So that step comes first.
Mhm.
You talk about, how we live basically the reality we create in our mind. When did you really begin to wrap around that understanding, and how did that journey, that part of your journey, um, manifest itself in helping you heal?
So actually what kind of like I was like I said I was trying to figure out about like how my brain worked and like what happened to it and why I was addicted, and I actually stumbled across Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he had like a program called Rewired, and I was really drawn to that. And so in my beginning stages of recovery, I did his course, and I did it over and over and over again. Like I just listen to it in the car. I listened to it while falling asleep. I listened to it like basically whenever I had a moment to have something going, like an earbud in my ear, I was listening to him explaining about the brain. And then also his meditations around changing the pathways and how we are in control and our thoughts, like we can welcome our thoughts in, like actually just decide nope, I don't want that one, and change the thought. Like it's uncomfortable because our brains are like a computer. It's programmed that one way. But I was, like I said, I was determined to be in a new life. And so I just focused really, really, really hard on watching my thoughts and then changing my thoughts and doing these meditations around on around like how to integrate everything. So that was a huge, huge step for me to be able to start to learn that, we can really have power over our brains.
Yeah, his work is really good stuff, and that's one thing I talk a lot about is these sort of things that you learned as a young woman at the time, right? When you first started learning it. And I didn't learn some of this stuff till my road down into NLP and learning all that out of college. And probably the thing that excited me when I first learned it was like, oh man, I wish I'd learned this when I was like younger. Like this is really cool stuff. And it's something that I think is really missing in education. And we're beginning to kind of see inroads a little bit. There's a little more talk and programs out there for teaching like emotional intelligence and some of these uh, things, but personally, I don't think we go anywhere near far enough. How do you think, if you had known what you know now when you were younger, would that have made a difference, do you think, in some of the decisions you made, and how to deal with whatever stressors were going on in your life and things like that?
Yeah, I definitely think it would have, because right from the get-go, like I would have known, you know, like I've been like, like been taught how to regulate and understand my emotions and my thoughts from like a young age. And like I was always really good at expressing myself. Like I definitely tell people how I feel, but like it's still stored in your body, and then your brain is still like I mean, it's just wild that like 95% of our reality is based on our subconscious mind. And so it's like and then but we're not even aware of our subconscious mind. So just like having these tools prior and being able to like kind of look out for patterns or things like that definitely would have been helpful. But I'm very excited that I know them now, and I'm very excited that I can hopefully help other people understand like all the different layers of what it actually is like to be human. Because like you were mentioning it, that we learn all these things in school. We learn how to learn, and we learn about things that probably we don't even need to know, and but we're not taught how to be a human. So it's just so wild.
Absolutely. And so you began to, um, do some of these meditations. You were listening to these tapes, and then somewhere along the line, you began to learn about the energy healing and all of that. So, kind of walk us through your progression and the bringing about, because I talk about mind, body, spirit, right? Those are all
Mhm.
connected, and spirit is sometimes hard to define. It can be sometimes hard to kind of put into words on what refer to with that. Mind and body, people kind of begin to get, but there's that other factor, and energy healing. And sometimes people hear that and they kind of go, "Yeah, what's this stuff?" Like what? What? Can you talk
They'll
a little
believe
bit?
in Wi-Fi, but so those energy waves can like talk to each other, but not the human energy. Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
but we there's a lot of Eastern medicine talks about the energy fields, right? I mean, the chakras and
yes.
that's what acupuncture is kind of about, right? Is the electrical energy that we have. But here in Western medicine, we don't. It seems so kind of like just for some people, it just seems too. I'm not sure the word I want to use, but they have a hard time relating to it. But it's
Yeah.
powerful stuff. So can you kind of talk about what you mean when you talk about energy healing and the energy kind of balancing things out?
Sure, yeah. So I've always been like super sensitive, and I've known I've like, feel deeply and stuff. And so then but I would say that all of my drug use kind of numbed a little bit of like my empathic way, just in the sense of like how deeply I can feel other people. And then when I got like when after my like during my recovery, the first year was so hard, I would say energetically, because I was feeling all these things that like I never felt so intensely, and it was really hard for me to actually like be in the world. And that's like kind of where my curiosity began around energy and like empaths and sensitive people and stuff like that, because I was like, I need to learn how to be able to function in society without being on drugs. Um, so yeah, so I started researching around empaths and energy clearings and our energy fields, and how there are some people who just, everyone can feel the energy, but some people are just more in tuned and some people are like extremely in tuned. So, I learned all about how to like create like a safe barriers around me with like meditations and visualizations. And then I learned how to cleanse the energy. There's multiple ways to do that. Like grounding is huge, very helpful for me, even just like taking a shower, visualization of like the energy leaving you. I do a lot of meditations and hypnos around clearing out that body, or sorry, clearing out the energy out of your body. So yeah, like as the more I progressed in my recovery, the more I like tapped into all these different ways to be able to like keep keep me feeling aligned with myself. I can't not feel people's stuff, but I've definitely learned like my limits in the sense of like how much I can be around people and when I need to say no, and how to really take care of myself while still being able to like take care of others.
Yeah. So again, there's a whole level of awareness that was part of this as you become even more aware of your own skills, your own natural inclinations, and all. Um, you said it was like really challenging when you were, you know, going through the recovery, right? Your body's been craving the drugs or it's used to it, and you started kind of, trying to learn more about this energy and all. Were there some things that you were doing as you were learning, as you're trying to go through, that like worked? Like, was there anything in particular that you grabbed hold of to really help you out during that
Yeah.
healing time?
Well, for the first part of it, I actually was like tried to be alone a lot because um like in this because I it was very hard for me to be in big groups anymore or just doing too many things. Like I was always like very like my days were always very busy, so it was like go 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 go. I couldn't do that stuff anymore, and when I did I felt like horrible. So like I said, what I started doing was really focusing on taking time for me, but then with the energy clearing, like showers really helps. Like it like the water coming down and like really cleansing your body. Visualization of like actually like clearing the energy out of your body, even shaking, like dancing or whatever, like any kind of movement really helps with like resetting your energy, but it's also really good for like your nervous system. So you're doing like multiple things when you're doing movement and stuff. I have so many things little things that I kind of put together, but I mean, one of the best things that works for me is being out in nature. Like just like enjoying the fresh air and like obviously the trees are very healing and grounding. Like I mentioned that we literally can put our energy back into earth and then receive something from the earth as well. So that really, really helped me as well.
There's actually, I read a book recently, the crisis comfort or the crisis in comfort, something along that line. And in that book, there's one part of a chapter where he talked about the Japanese have and I don't remember the name of it. And actually, my brother-in-law really got into this, but the word kind of translates into forest bathing. And
Mm,
there's a whole process that they go through for getting out into the woods and just feeling the natural energy of the forest and cleansing and healing and being aware of the different things. And my brother-in-law actually went through a whole training in this. He just recently retired, and he wants to kind of do some of this coaching in his retirement. But I find it fascinating, but so relatable because I love being out in the woods, right? Like it's like I'm fortunate enough where I'm living right now, like right out my backyard, I can the forests are right there. So like if I want to, I can just go out and be in the woods. And it is this I don't know how to really explain it, but you feel differently, right? I mean, it when I can be
yeah.
out there in the quiet and just alone sometimes, it's in a weird way, it kind of
It,
energizes me. It just helps kind of let things go. So when you said that, it's like, oh yeah, totally relate to that completely.
yeah, I remember I was hanging out with like my niece one day while I was like really learning like deep into like the whole grounding and being in nature thing. And I'm like, come on, let's go hug a tree. And she like just kind of looked at me super funny. She did it. She hugged the tree. But like, like just, being in nature and appreciating nature is so healing. So
Absolutely. And the other thing too is the relationships that you have. The quality of the relationships can be so powerful. Did that come into play um, in your healing process? Finding that because you said you had to change your whole social network, right?
Mhm.
Now, I'm kind of operating under the assumption that when you did that, that new social piece became empowering for you. Is that accurate? Was that really important in this whole process?
Yeah, so I did have like a couple friends that either, weren't on that party journey or chose to join me on the recovery journey. And we would, just do simple things like go for ice cream and like watch movies and stuff like that. And I actually had moved in, I had to move out of where I was living. I went and lived with another friend who had actually she had recovered from an addiction. She had a meth addiction for 11 years and she was now 7 years sober. So I went and lived with her for the first part. So that was really beneficial to me because I had somebody who had gone through the recovery process already. And so she really understood like what I was going through, like mentally and emotionally and stuff. So that was very beneficial. And then I had actually gone back to Costa Rica for like a little bit. And then when I came back again, I lived with my best friend. And this was like such a hard time. Like this part was so hard on me, this next lag of the journey. And she was so patient with me and so gentle and like because I was all over the place. Like I was just like everything kind of like if things weren't in a routine or if I couldn't work out at the same time every day, like it threw me off. Like I really needed to be structured with myself in order to like feel like I had, I guess, control in some way over part of my life because like there was so much of it that was changing outwards and inwards. But she was so kind and so loving and so patient. And I mean, I've apologized a million times about like some of my like outbursts during this time, but like she understood and just held so much compassion for me and definitely wouldn't have been able to get through those times without such loving support.
I'm glad you just brought up that little idea about these habits you said were um, like if you didn't work out at the same time every day, it kind of threw you off and that sort of thing. Because I talk about the importance and power of rituals in your life, in particular morning and evening rituals. But the rituals are there to support you, not control the day. And it's sometimes for some personalities, it like it begins to control them. And that's like that if that's the case, then there's some other work you need to do because they need to be supporting, not like, oh my God, not causing stress if you miss something, right?
Yeah,
And there's
no,
this,
totally agree.
yeah,
And I did recognize, but just for that part of where I was in my life, like I needed to be able to wake up at the same time. I needed to be able to work out at this time. I needed to be able to da 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 da, like, like it just, there was so much falling apart. But now, like, I mean, I don't keep a schedule really at all. Like like obviously I have to get up and I have things that I need to do, but I either it's meditation first or maybe some movement first or like it's very fluid right now and like I don't feel like any of that controls me now, but it definitely was a part of my recovery that like, you're losing control in one area, you try to grasp control in another, but it's definitely not healthy to hold on like that tightly, like you said, where if you don't do it, it's causing you stress. Yeah. Just adds another layer.
uh, so what are some of you just mentioned meditation, movement. You said you like being, outside when you get outside. What are some of those regular things that you do as now part of your routine and rituals that are so important for you in your managing your emotion, managing stress, just managing your life? What are some of those go-tos for you?
So, like every morning, I do like to wake up with some type of like meditation or even just like some kind of like positive affirmation thing. I find my brain is still very fast. I don't know, it works very fast. So I like to just when I first wake up, I put something on that's like positive or motivation or like even just like grounding and just get my mind to just like take it all in. And then I do enjoy exercising. Like right now, I'm super blessed because I am in Nicaragua, so it is summer all the time. My original location is in Winnipeg, Canada, which is cold, 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 cold right now. So it would stop me from being able to be in nature. But I go for morning walks with the dogs. I do a workout. I'll go to the beach. Sometimes the best thing that I need in the morning is actually just to put on music and sing. Like singing like opens up your throat chakra and it gets, like releases any kind of like stagnant energy that you might have been carrying from like the day before. So yeah, I do things like that. I actually talk to my mom like almost every morning on her drive to work. So that's really nice for me to be able to connect with my mom and just chat about a little bit about our day before and what we're looking forward to in the day. And so yeah, those are some of the things I do.
Music, love the fact you said that because I'm a big advocate for people developing playlists. Music is a powerful anchor. And, you talk to people, a group, like everybody has a song that when they hear it, takes them right back. Sometimes it takes them back to a bad place, but we have our favorite songs that take us, brings you right back to some moment, some special moment. And that's powerful. I mean, that's a powerful anchor. Music and smells are probably two of the most powerful anchors that we have for helping change our state. So,
Mhm.
and inevitably, if I dig enough, I hear that from people. And I didn't even really have to dig. You just said that was, that was one of your things, which, yeah, music's a big one. So talk us through you go through this whole journey of learning, trying to figure things out. You're working, all this. When did you finally come to the conclusion, realization, whatever that decision that I'm gonna start empowering people. I'm gonna start trying to, take everything I've learned and really help people out. When did that happen?
It's actually been pretty recent. So I've always like been helpful to people and I do my best to, like, spread my knowledge to my friends and family. And but like after my recovery and I'm like, I'm good to go. I was actually speaking on some podcasts about 3 years ago about this, but then I first moved to Nicaragua. I took a job at this hotel and it was insane. It was like 24/7, so much going on. And I had like a nervous breakdown. I have never like it was almost like the shakiness of like a fiend after like needing more drugs. Like it was so weird and like my that is when I tapped into like learning about like my nervous system and like how to regulate that and like really remembering that to like say no to things and like how much I could handle and all this kind of stuff. And so I started learning about that in our bodies and how to like integrate some of the lessons that I already knew, but then just really fully understanding that part of being human. And then I had moved to Panama after that, and I was living on this very small island, which I thought was going to be like amazing. Like me and my boyfriend moved there, we're going to have this great life. and I fell into like an extreme depression. The island was too small for me. Like once again, I didn't have any friends when I first moved out there. I work online, so I'm not like I'm not out and about with the community and stuff. And I went into like a very dark place, and it was actually quite scary. And then I was like, I got to get off this island, and ended up going back to Costa Rica for a month, and then back to Canada after that. And then really that took me really back into like how mindset work. And after I started to feel better, it took a while, some months. I realized like how much information I have now, like kind of felt like a wholeness of information now around being human, because I had now had discovered like a nervous breakdown and how to heal from that, and then also into a deep depression and how to get back from that. And something just clicked in me that was like, I feel like I have like a wholeness now of like what I can offer people. Because before I kind of was like, well, what would I focus on? Like, I love teaching people about this and I love teaching people about this, but nothing really felt aligned yet, I guess. So, during my soul contract was like, okay, we're going to take you here, here, and here. And now I just feel like so empowered from me that I was able to discover all these things. And I really, really want to share now with people and help people have the tools and the awareness and just understand themselves, their body, their thoughts, like their energy, like, like the soul journey part, if that's something they're interested in. Like I feel like I have all the layers, and I'm ready to share it with the world.
It's having the knowledge that you acquired, but then living it. That's the piece that I find helps make coaches um, effective, right? It's when they've acquired the knowledge, however they acquire it, and when they have gone through it themselves, now they can relate that experiential aspect to it that just makes it so much more empowering and beneficial for people. I want to hone in on one thing you said a moment ago when you were on that island in Panama, and you would you do things online, right? So you're online, but yet you didn't feel like you didn't have friends there. You weren't really connected. And one of my big concerns with modern technology and this, it can be powerful, right? This Zoom calls can be powerful where I can connect, I can see you. You're, down in Nicaragua, right? And I we can kind of still meet face to face, but it's not the same as being in person. And we have kids, teenagers who are not connecting person to person the same way they used to. And it is very concerning to me. And the more and more data we're beginning to get is is indicating that it's leading to a whole lot of emotional challenges and problems because the connectedness is not the same online. Do you want to
No,
speak to that for a moment?
yeah, I mean, like, do you want me to speak more on like what's happening with like the kids today, or just the connection in general?
Uh, Either. I mean, like if I know you observe things, right? That's part of what we do.
Yeah.
So
So, I mean, it is so important for humans to have connection and community. Like it's in us. Like, like before we started living in these separate houses, we lived in villages, and there's that saying where it takes a village to raise a child. And you need that help and support, and you need that community. And when that's taken away and you're just scrolling on a screen, or snap, like my niece is 15, they're just snapchatting all the time, like just photos and video things. But like, yes, obviously she gets together with them sometime, but the amount that they're on their phones is insane. And it is scary because they're not, like you mentioned, not getting like they don't know how to interact with people. They don't know how to like read situations. They don't know, like they don't get that same like wholeness by doing things through a screen. And it is very scary. I think it's making a lot of people like more introvert and kind of like scared of the world, and very shut down, like, and it's very scary. Like I wish they would go back to landlines in a lot of ways. Like, you call your buddy, you say meet me on the corner, and then let's go, like,
It's
yeah.
loneliness used to be considered an old age problem, right? As people got older, they started losing their peers, their generations, and were, you know, losing their social network. Loneliness was a problem. The older you got, the the bigger of a problem it became. And there's quite a bit of data now that's showing that loneliness is becoming a problem for this younger generation, and that is just like wow. But I've seen it over the years, right? And even when the difference in age between, and I have four kids. My oldest was 4 years older than my youngest, and I have twins in between them. So they were close together. And there's a really unique friendship group between my oldest son and my youngest son in that there's four families that all have older brothers and younger brothers the same age. So my son, his friend, really close friend groups since elementary school, all had younger brothers the same age as his younger brother, and they
Hmm.
all have gotten along. They're still best of friends to this day. They're in their 20s, still all get together and hang out. And the difference in social media and use of phone between the oldest and the youngest in just those 4 years was eye opening, right? The oldest brothers could get together and hang out and watch the ball game and go out, and the younger brothers, they would do that, but they're reaching for their phone to do whatever, and having to reach for their phone while watching a movie was significantly greater than the older brothers. And I'm like, wow,
And well,
that's
it's addicting. The phone is an addiction, right? Like it's been proven, like you're scrolling or getting these flashes, it's hits a dopamine, but it's like it's too fast, right? Like it, young children should not be looking at iPads or scrolling for long at all. It also it messes with their brain development, and it's very disturbing to see so many children, like just sitting on iPads like all the time. And like, I'm not a parent and I understand there's lots going on, but I mean, I was raised without an iPad. Generation before were raised before an iPad, and there's no positive effects in it except for maybe keeping the kid quiet. Like I understand it's part of our world now, and we need it. It's gonna be there, but I really feel like it needs to be monitored more because these poor children and their brain development and their attention span and the dopamine hits that they're getting constantly, it's not good.
I was just a month ago, I was at University of Georgia football game, college football game. Um, and sitting right in front of us was a couple with a probably a 6-year-old son at an SEC college football game. Big, the college football has its own like real intensity level, and this
Mm.
kid had a phone, and he was playing a game the entire football game. I was uh, I kept looking and just kind of going, "Oh my goodness!" Like I couldn't stop watching. Like I was just kind of taken aback. And again, I try not to be judgmental, right? but
Mhm.
it was just yeah, it was kind of disturbing.
Yeah, I'm not judging people. Like I'm very, I understand it's part like a lot of people just are like, oh, it's just the way it is now. And a lot of people don't understand the damage or whatever. But it's just definitely something I noticed that like it is not healthy for our young children's minds. And, I have a 5-year-old niece, and when she's with me, she's not allowed on the iPad. Like she'll sleep over and then wake up in the morning and she'll reach for her iPad, and I'm like, nope. Like, like you don't need to play with that. Like, let's go outside. Let's, read a book. Let's color. Like, so I put in some rules to
Yeah,
help.
yeah,
But,
yeah. So, well, we're coming to the end of our time here. Somebody wants to get in touch with you and learn more about what you do. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Either Instagram or Facebook. So Instagram, my handle's at Mandy Alexis Motivation. And then Facebook's just Mandy Alexis. So those are the best ways to reach me. And I'm happy to tell them more about the Journey Inward program I have put together for people, and answer any questions, or, guide them the way they need to be guided.
Fantastic. I appreciate you taking the time out to be with us and share your story and the work you're doing. So thank you,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
of course. Well, powerful story. A lot of important things that Mandy's doing. I would encourage people who are curious or can relate to anything that she said to get in touch with her. And I want to take this time to also share with all of you that I'm very excited because finally, uh, a dream I've had for a long time is really coming to fruition. And I've been really working on trying to figure out how to really kind of take some of the work I did when I was working in public schools. And I would have students generally for 2 years and do all kinds of work in those 2 years. Obviously in a school setting, there's a lot of school related things, but there's a whole lot of mindset work over that. And I am opening up a 2 year mentorship program, application only. So the applications, will start taking those in January, and the first cohort would begin in February. So I encourage you to think about this, take a look at the information. I will be putting links in the description here, and seriously consider the importance and value of a mentorship. And it can be really, really powerful for the entire family. When families begin to work together, go through this, parents helping their children, learning more about how their children are thinking, and you growing at the same time, it's really, really powerful. So I would encourage you to look at that and consider applying for that. And as always, until the next time, I hope you will go out and live life to the fullest.